Welcome back. My first week teaching online with Zoom is over, and I must say I was always a fan of Zoom over Skype. Zoom is a great tool for web meetings, but you see, it's not necessarily developed for just class meetings. And I see here and there some glitches that don't work perfectly for me. So just to give you a little bit perspective, so in my classroom, I see all of my students. I can show my slides, I can use the Blackboard, I can show a video, I can show a website. And while I'm doing this, I still see my entire class. But that is not always the case with Zoom, and especially if I want to share something, Zoom has this tendency to cut off all my visual contact to my students. So that is what this video is about. I was looking for solutions, how to make sure that I keep contact to my students while I'm sharing slides, while I'm showing a video, or while we are using the whiteboard. And I found 3 solutions that I want to introduce you in this video. So to jump right into it, I want to explain you a little bit what my problem in online teaching is and why I think you lose easily the connection to the class, and with that you lose the flow of your teaching online. And for that, let's go on my computer. So what you see here now is a typical Zoom session. I have something like 20 to 40 students usually in my class, and because that size is relatively small, I have at least a chance to have interactions with my students. If you are teaching classes of 100 people, 200 people, maybe then this kind of interaction is not necessarily what you would expect. But with a class size of 20 to 40 people, I can still see almost everyone of the class if they switch on the camera, and that's usually what I require. So to show you the problem, I need now a lot of different students in it. I could not convince my students to participate here in this video, so I need to mimic that a little bit at home. So I stole almost every laptop that I found at home to mimic at least a small class of only 7 people. So I'm a big fan to see all of my students. So what you see here is you see me, and you see here at the top 4 other students or 3 other students, not more. That is a view that I don't like much because I can speak to me, but I don't see what's going on. So pretty like you figured already out, there is a button here on the right side. We can switch to the gallery view. And the gallery view is my most preferred view because here I can see, in my case, every laptop, but here I could see almost all of my students. This you can even with settings in Zoom extend to 49 people if I'm correct. So I see a lot of small icons and see all of these faces, and that would be the equivalent of a class for me. And I like this view, and I also tell my students, please switch to the gallery view, because this way you see also what your classmates are doing. It's not so important to see me all the time so big. So next typical thing would be that I want to share maybe some slides, or want to show you a video, or I want to show you something that's going on my computer. So we have here a slide presentation. So I would start this kind of slide presentation, and then you can go on Zoom and you can share your screen or maybe just the presentation that I opened. And let's do this and do a double click on that kind of presentation. And if I do the double click, all of a sudden I see only my own presentation. I don't see the other windows anymore. I can now talk about this presentation, but I don't see my audience anymore. Maybe your view is slightly different. You have maybe one person, you see your own camera. Maybe you see 2 or 3 other students, but that's usually the maximum what you see. So I lose right away my beautiful gallery view where I can see how people react to my slides. And that's pretty annoying if you just want to flip through some very central slides. Maybe the students know them, but you just want to remind them about this concept or another concept. So what could be a solution for that? And I found 3 solutions to make sure that I don't have such a harsh break. And I find them quite helpful, and I hope they're also helpful for you to keep the flow in your online teaching. And let's look on the first solution. So the first solution that I found comes from the streaming world. Especially gamers like to stream their playing, and for that they use usually a virtual camera. And I have also here a virtual camera. There are multiple solutions for that. If you don't want to invest in a hardware solution, there are software solutions. What I'm using here is ManyCam. So ManyCam is a software solution that mimics a virtual camera, and it takes the original feed from your webcam and adds additional information to it. And in Zoom, you just choose, instead of the original web camera, you just choose this kind of virtual camera. When you look here into my menu, I have here ManyCam Virtual Cam at the top. So once this virtual camera is installed, I can add all kinds of information to my video feed. And typical for that is maybe something like a lower third. So here you see my name and my class, if this is needed. Might be not needed for a class. Or I can give someone a notification and say to my students they should pay attention. Maybe that's something that you can do. So you see already there are so many features that you can do with a virtual camera that are not necessarily suited for a class. When I was going through all of the features of ManyCam, and not everything is very helpful, I found some stuff where it might be quite useful. So one thing is, for instance, when I'm talking about a concept, of course I can blend it in and talk about what is the issue, what I'm talking right now. So for instance, here in this case, it could be defining social media. Another way how you can use that is if you're just taking the slide presentation that we had before, and I don't use Zoom for sharing the slides, but I use the virtual camera for that. And for that, I can just blend in my slide presentation here on the upper side. So it's a little bit like TV. And the cool thing is, this is just a screen recording from my PowerPoint slide. So I can really flip through it like in my class, and you can see these kind of slides. And the cool thing about doing it this way is I don't need to see my own slides. I know my slides. So for me, it's more interesting to see the entire class, so I can switch to the gallery view and still see everybody. And for my students, they might, in that case where I show you something additionally, maybe go to the speaker view so they see me a little bit bigger. So that could be a way how to work with each other. It's very, very smooth. I just have a keystroke and can change that, and I also can blend it out again. In my personal experience with these kind of features, it's very good for when you want to talk already about an accepted or a slide that you have shown already before, or when you only want to show 2 or 3 slides where this hassle of changing the screen and reconfigure everything is way too much. What you also see is you need to adjust a little bit your slides. So my slides are in general a little bit too small for that. So this is something you need to consider too. And yes, it is also very heavy on your computer. So you should have a fast computer for that. There's a software solution, but usually a hardware solution is doing for you. So there could be a little bit lag with even that. But if it's just about a slide or 2 that you want to show, that you want to refer to, it's a really convenient way to do it. So that was the virtual camera as a solution. My second solution is even more low-tech. Till now, I think almost everyone has already discovered these kind of virtual backgrounds that you can use, and they are quite funny wherever we can sit. So this is really cool. But I find that virtual backgrounds are also very, very good for teaching, especially if you want to show a slide. And if you want to show a slide also big enough. So all what you have to do is taking your slides and save them as a JPEG, 16:9 ratio, and you can put them as a virtual background. So I show you what I mean with that. So if I go in Zoom and I go on the preferences and I go on virtual background, you will see I have the standard backgrounds, but I have already prepared some individual slides that I use in my class. And when I click on them, you will see, well, I have here my slides. I can talk about this slide if I want to just remind my students about it. If this is something that is important right now, I can switch to the slide and it's just one click away again. So that's very, very simple. Of course, you don't have the entire slide selection. If you have hundreds of slides, that's not a solution. But if you have 2 or 3 key slides of your class and you want to show them from time to time or refer to them from time to time quickly, the virtual background are perfect for that, and they're also big enough. All what you need to do is preparing these as JPEG up front and sitting right. So sitting on 1/3 of your frame, so there's enough space for the slide so that people can see and read the slide or remember this kind of slide. So that was my second solution, the virtual background. So my third solution has to do with multiple screens that you're using. And Zoom is prepared that you can have a setup with multiple screens. Now, for my solutions, you don't need multiple screens, but we use or maybe abuse this kind of function by Zoom. So I told you already, my preferred scenario would be I see all of my students at the same time. And when I switch to a screen sharing, my overview of the class should not disappear. Usually it will disappear in that exactly right moment. So when you go on Zoom preferences and you go on general and you see here the first setting, that's use dual monitors. Use dual monitors. Although you might have not a second monitor, just click it on, because the interesting thing is how Zoom has execute this kind of feature. So click on it. And when you click on it, you will see you get a second screen. I have a second window. I have a second screen, so I need to bring the second window on this, my primary screen. So let's do this. Here I am. So here, now I have 2 windows side by side. That's usually how I do my setup. And now when I share the screen, it will pop up right into my speaker view window. So let's do this. It has this little bit annoying effect that sometimes the windows are jumping around, but just 2 movements of windows and you have your configuration back. So if I take here my PowerPoint presentation, I double click on it, you will see the PowerPoint presentation. I put the PowerPoint presentation here at the bottom, and I have my second window that again jumped to my second screen. I bring it back, and here it is. And now I have the setup that I actually want. I have my main window here, almost my perfect setup, because you know I prefer the gallery view. So when I go in my gallery view, not I'm so big, I can see myself, but I can see almost everyone else too. And I can see my slides. I can scroll through my slides and I will not lose the contact to the class. So this is by far my most preferred setup when I'm doing Zoom. I have the people at the top because there's my web camera. So I will look to the people, then I look into their face, and at the bottom, I see my slides. This will work also with a whiteboard. This will also work with a screen sharing of a desktop. This will also work with sharing a video or something else. So it's a very versatile tool, the dual screen solution from Zoom with 2 windows in this kind of configuration. I find the dual screen so important that I use it all the time. And I also tell my students where this kind of button is, and they should get used to using the gallery view and using 2 windows, because it has a big advantage, because then the students can also see each other and it's more like a normal classroom environment where we can have real conversations. Just to finish this here, there's a second way how you can generate an almost equivalent view. The weird thing is this view is not always there. It's even not more flexible, but maybe easier to reach. And your students pretty likely get this kind of view when you are presenting, or at least they have the option to do it. I don't know if it's always standardly set up. So when I'm presenting at the moment, I cannot go in this side-by-side view, but if someone else presents, I can see this side-by-side view, and it serves almost the same purpose. So let's do this and let one of my doodles here share something. So doesn't matter really what it is. And you see here, that would be the normal view, how students usually see this kind of sharing. So you see at the top a selection of the class, and you see at the bottom what is shared in very, very big. Now, there's a feature, and that is called side by side. When you go in view options and you go here side by side, you get a different view. You get on the left what is shared, and on the right here already the gallery view. And that's what I perfectly want to have. Maybe some people have the speaker view like this, with the person who's speaking, and on the left what they are sharing. But I would advise to put that into gallery view. And that's another way of doing it. Seeing the screen, seeing what is shared, what we are talking about. And on the right hand side, I can see every student, every screen is on, and we can have a conversation at the same time. So that were the 3 solutions that I found to make sure you stay in contact with your students, you have eye contact with them all the time, and you don't interrupt the flow of your online teaching. So I hope this video was useful for you, and I'm looking forward to your feedback.